Hey guys, Aaron's Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm bringing you Game 2 against Ryan, also known as rhuntern. He's a VGC YouTuber, definitely underrated, so check him out in the description below if you do not follow him already. But anyway, yesterday I uploaded Game 1 against him, and of course this is Game 2. Now one thing that's important to note in a best 2 of 3 series is of course you play it a bit differently than best of 1s, you know? Even if you lose Game 1, you can learn a lot of valuable information, and I was fortunate enough to win Game 1, and I learned a lot about his team, so this is really crucial for me going forward. So one adjustment I made from Game 1 is I, switched the Scizor and Aerodactyl, as you see here. Those are the 4 Pokemon I had. 2 I did not bring were Mega Charizard X and Miltank, but I decided those 2 were really not relevant to the matchup. I knew that the 4 Pokemon I had would beat any of his 6, but I knew that I'd have to conserve the Scizor a bit more. In the first game, I also learned his Charizard does not carry Heat Wave or Overheat, meaning that my Mega Venusaur can take the stab boosted Flamethrower from Charizard Y, even under Sun. So I decided that my best lead matchup by far was Aerodactyl and Venusaur, no matter what he decided to lead with, and I said to myself, hey, if he leads with Charizard, then I can severely punish him with my Aerodactyl. Scizor was great for closing up the match. In the first game, I was lucky enough to get a bunch of Swords Dances up, and it was crucial in beating the Charizard, but I don't want to risk that this time. So I went with the same Pokemon, but I brought Aerodactyl as my lead this time. Ryan, on the other hand, completely switches things up. He has Mr. Mime and Kecleon now instead of the Rhydon and Trevenant, so interesting switch there, and we'll see how that goes. Another really good thing to note was that my Mega Venusaur is actually slower than his Mega Charizard Y. So Ryan's team, which is primarily a Trick Room team, Mr. Mime and Trevenant are the Trick Room users on it. Even if he sets up Trick Room, then my Mega Venusaur is carrying Sleep Powder, and I can just Sleep Powder the Charizard should Trick Room go up. So when I first saw his team in Team Preview, I was really worried because I assumed the Charizard was as slow as possible. But having this knowledge going forward is really important because it means that I won't be that concerned about Trick Room going up at any point. But basically, that was my mentality of the best 2 of 3, using what I learned from Game 1, going into Game 2, and that's why I made the adjustments I did. So without further ado, let's finally get into this battle. So like I said, Aerodactyl and Mega Venusaur is by far the best lead I can, use against him. I'm actually carrying Skydrop on Aerodactyl as well, which is really good because it can, potentially shut down a Trick Room setup and give me a turn to Mega Evolve Mega Venusaur and do whatever I want with it. So Skydrop obviously takes the Pokemon into the sky, making it useless for that turn. Of course, the following turn will be able to attack, but it's a fun move and it can allow for a lot of setups. Now he's going to lead with Mr. Mime and Charizard. This is a really good lead matchup for me, except for the fact that Mr. Mime is probably carrying Wide Guard. You often see Icy Wind on it because it's a great speed control move, but in this case, on a Trick Room team, probably not going to carry Icy Wind because you don't want to lower the speed of your opponent's Pokemon. So I do anticipate the Wide Guard this turn, but I make a pretty silly misplay right from the get-go. The Wide Guard coming from Miss Mime, nicknamed, is going to prevent any Rock Slides. Of course, like I said, I did predict this, so I went for the Skydrop, but at the time I completely forgot that Skydrop actually does not affect Flying type attack Pokemon, and I misclicked here, so I Sleep Powder the Charizard instead of the Mr. or Miss Mime. So as a result, I'm not able to do any damage, and I basically waste the first turn completely. He gets an Ancient Power off onto my Aerodactyl. I was surprised to see that, but it made a lot more sense once the Dazzling Gleam came out, and now I'm saying to myself, wow, what did I just do? I had an excellent lead matchup, and I just lost my Aerodactyl again. Same mistake in Game 1, so I'm really kicking myself in the head right now, especially because I, 1, forgot Skydrop didn't affect Flying types, and 2, did not target the right Pokemon, obviously, with Sleep Powder. I misclicked there, but I said to myself, alright, my position really isn't that bad still, so I'm not going to complain, especially because I bring out my Rotom Wash, which can take a Solar Beam and Thunderbolt to Mr. Mime for the KO. Now, Rotom Wash here surprisingly outspeeds the Mr. Mime and Charizard, so that's good to know because it means I can actually Thunderbolt the Charizard in the future. Charizard is going to get a Flamethrower off, of course boosted by Stab in the Sun, but Mega Venusaur with the Thick Fat ability is rather clutch and is able to hang on with 21 HP. It's going to hit a huge Sleep Powder here, negating that Charizard, which is really, really big. Because I'm slower than Mega Charizard, it means that the Charizard slot this turn is basically going to, I can completely target that slot. So I go for the Thunderbolt here. He doesn't switch out, which is really good for me as I bring it down to around 25%. Of course, he's going to stay asleep for the first turn. Here I went for the Synthesis because I knew Mega Venusaur was my key to basically winning this entire matchup. I did not want Mega Venusaur to faint from an attack from that Kecleon, for example, the Rock Slide like you do see here, as Kecleon's Protean is going to activate. Of course, Protean is a really interesting VGC ability. The only viable Pokemon I've seen it on so far is Greninja, but Greninja is really frail, so it's kind of cool to see Kecleon use it here. Kecleon, of course, does have that Life Orb to even increase its damage output, but you see there, even with the Life Orb and the stab boosted attack, still not doing too much. Here he's going to withdraw his Charizard into Scrafty. I'm perfectly fine with that. Rotom Wash really does not mind this position whatsoever. In the first game I learned that the Scrafty is actually carrying Rocky Helmet and not Lumberry, so that's really good to note as well, because it means I can just, Will-O-Wisp it at any point and just shut it down completely. He goes for the Sucker Punch there, and even with the critical hit, does not do too much to my Mega Venusaur. I did go for the Giga Drain this turn. I probably should have double targeted that slot, honestly, but at the same time I wanted to be safe. I did not want Charizard to wake up and do any silly things, so I'm in a good position right now, up 3-2. He's got a sleeping Charizard in the back, but now he switched in Scrafty, which means he can fake out my Venusaur. I'm fine with that though, because I did go for the Hydro Pump onto Kecleon. If he faked out my Rotom Wash, then I'd just be able to Sleep Powder it, so I'll take that trade-off anyway, but he's not gonna actually faint with the Kecleon, and he's gonna be able to set up Trick Room, which is could turn things around. Trick Room and the late game can always, sway things completely in a different favor. So, the game's still not over yet. I'm going to bring in no Bug Bite, my Scizor here, because I want to conserve the Mega Venusaur, knowing that it's slower than Charizard, meaning it'll be actually able to outspeed it in the sun. At this point, I'm anticipating Charizard's going to wake up after a turn, because you always have to assume the worst, honestly, in VGC, and you have to maximize your chances of winning. So, he goes for the Rock Slide here. I'm fine with that, but I'm scared of the flinch. Of course, I knew that he'd faint from the Life Orb recoil, so I'm fine with that. He does go for the Ice Punch, just trying to get as much damage off as possible, but the Scizor switch is going to take that brilliantly. However, I do flinch here, and that can potentially swing things back into his favor. I was going for the Will-O-Wisp, I believe, onto the Scrafty, which would have, completely shut it down, but now I'm kind of concerned. He goes for another Drain Punch here onto my Scizor, as he does not protect with the Charizard, which I was kind of surprised to see. I do go for the Swords Dance here. You might think that it's an aggressive play, but I know he's not carrying Heat Wave on his Charizard, so I know if he wants to KO it, he's got to just target it with a Flamethrower, meaning my Rotom can just knock it out with the Thunderbolt. So it was a rather safe play. Charizard is actually going to wake up, which is huge for him if he wants to win this battle. I think if it didn't wake up there, I would have won the game directly, but waking up there gives him a huge chance of winning, and it sways things completely back into his favor. But I do have Scizor now, and Scizor really is the key, especially at +2. Surprisingly, Scizor able to clutch it out in Game 1 against a Charizard, and Game 2 might be able to just do the same. Here he does go for the Protect with Charizard, and he goes for the Ice Punch on the Venusaur, but Venusaur with Thick Fat is able to take that. How amazing is that? I do go for the X-Scissor here. I actually double targeted the Scrafty this turn, not double targeting it. I went for the X-Scissor and Synthesis, knowing that the Charizard would almost guarantee to protect. I thought his win condition there was to Drain Punch my Scizor if he wanted any chance of winning, but by not Drain Punching, he basically allowed me to take the win from him. I was, trying to KO the Scrafty there. I don't pick up the KO, but regardless, because my Scizor was able to hang on, it means I'll be able to Bullet Punch the Charizard to KO, and now Venusaur can close the game up. So even though his Charizard woke up and he flinched me earlier on in the game, still able to clutch it out through some smart maneuvering. In the late game, predicting your opponent's protects are huge. I thought Ryan, like I said, even if he didn't protect there, because of the Protect, I was able to win. If he just went for a Flamethrower, then obviously the game would have been pretty much over, but I think he really needed to Protect there. However, I thought he needed to Drain Punch my Scizor instead of targeting the Venusaur that turn, but he was probably expecting a knockout on the Venusaur. However, Thick Fat is really good on Mega Venusaur, obviously, and so Ice Punch without Stab only did 27 HP, which is absolutely crazy. But I am able to take a 2-0 win and a 2-0 win in the series as well. So that's it for this battle, guys. Obviously, check Ryan and his YouTube channel out. As always, thank you for watching. Like the battle if you enjoyed it. Comment, subscribe, rate, so on. Of course, that's it for tonight, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, peace.